Siemens is a high-tech startup founded in 1847. Today we have about 380,000 people around the world. We focus on mobility, we focus on automation. We're in practically every industry you can count. You find some Siemens equipment or Siemens software.
So we needed flexibility. Managing master data in a global company like Siemens requires global solutions.
We had about 12 workflow systems across the company, and we all consolidated and said, well, we have to find one master workflow system.
We don't only talk about Agile, but we also mean it. So instead of year-long projects with big roadmaps for 5 years, I say within the next 2 sprints, I must give you ROI. And that means cycles of 2-3 months.
We needed the ability to drive a standard approach, but on top of it, have the flexibility to serve country-specific, business-specific needs.
Pega helps us enormously to connect the different dots between the different systems.
Pega allows us with the layer cake model to utilize that and say we want as much standard as possible, but we want to have that local flavor which we are using, and that brings real benefit.
With that one platform approach, we have the ability to manage the process as much as control the process on a central scale, and therefore ensuring the necessary controls and regulations from a central perspective.
One screen where you have all the features and all the information you need at one place.
And since we have introduced Pega, we were able actually to implement the solutions about 10 times faster.
In SAP, it takes a long time. Extracting, renaming a PDF, writing an email, sending the email, finding the contact. And this is something we set down to 3 or 4 clicks right now. So there's a massive time saving of 80–90%.
And that's of course a critical customer benefit, which we see not only from an IT perspective, but most importantly for our users across the globe.
We always talk about 1/10 the cost at 10 times the speed. And you can only have that speed if it is by definition infinitely scalable.
Easier to implement, easier to realize. So if you want to implement a change, it's sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks.
35,000 users that are actively using the solution. Within the next 6 to 9 months, we are approximately reaching 45,000 users on a global scale. One of the things that makes me very proud is that the feedback from our customers is really, really great.
When it comes to really unleashing the transformative power of digital transformation, you have to love the things what we call IT, but what you love more is actually people. And I think Pega is really the perfect middle ground to connect the ultra-complex realities with the complicated nuances of us being human. And I think that's really the transformative power of technology.
Vielen Dank. Obwohl ich Deutsch kann, werde ich den Vortrag trotzdem mal auf Englisch halten. And so welcome everyone. I'm really deeply honored to be here, to be presenting this digitalization journey. And I can promise to you that it will be a little bit of a different kind of presentation. And before I start, because I see my clock running, I have plenty of time still left. Let me start with actually an appreciation of other heroes we have here, the people in the translator booth. Incredible. I've listened to lots of these things. Let's give a hand to them. And to really give them a run for their money, I'm going to go totally off script now, and then the people who have the translating things on, you will hear how good they really are. So let's start with Greek mythology. Perseus, the gold ring, son of Zeus and Danae, he was famous for cutting off the head of Medusa. Medusa, one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. And do you know what came out of the blood when the Gorgon head of Medusa was slain? Anyone? It's Pegasus, the winged horse. So, just to get you started here, today it's not really about Greek mythology and storytelling, but it is a story about how we dealt with speed in an extreme complex world and how we still can have both of best worlds together to really fulfill our strategy. And before I start, I also want to share with you the approach, which I will repeat and repeat all over again today on how we did that. And it is really about the head to the heart to the hands. It's about the mindset, the heart set, and really putting it to work. Because if you miss one of these things, it's not going to work. And before I get started, just as a disclaimer, don't worry if you feel a little bit confused. Where is this guy going? I come to a Pega Engagement Summit. What is this story about? I promise to you all these three parts will come together nicely in order to really understand what this is about. And a little bit about the context, and I don't really need to do a lot of slides about Siemens because really my colleagues and friends have done a perfect job already. So very quick, 172-year-old startup. I've spent 10% of that existence already with Siemens. For once, not so good in math, so 17 years. I've moved for the company 14 times, worked in 7 different manufacturing operations in 5 different countries, but up until today, it's still the first and foremost employer I have. Really proud to say. I'm responsible globally for Siemens Digital Industries, which is 70,000 of these 380,000 people, 16 billion euro business, for offer to order and order to cash. And within my realm of responsibility, which encompasses order management, quotation, and pricing, I'm also leading a program called Order Management for Tomorrow. How does tomorrow look like? Actually, I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that the best way to plan the future is to do the things today necessary that we will live in regardless of whatever future in the best way. So of course, we are talking about the things like automation and reduction of rework and all of these things in our sales back office realm. But there is a little bit more to it, of course, nonetheless. So let's get started with the very first prologue. It is about the mindset. And like every story, there is a beginning, and I want to really quote the first 2 lines of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. A book 160 years made. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. And these words can't be truer today, after 160 years. You open the newspaper, you watch television, the news, and you really ask yourself, it is the best of times, it is the worst of times. And therefore, the Tale of Two Cities is also a tale of two stories, and let me introduce you to a story everyone in this room knows perfectly well. There's a guy coming from a big corporation, like Siemens, global company. He has some expertise, he shows you what they have done, and he gives you even the proof of how cool these things are. And you can call it best practice sharing, you can call it the reference case, the best whatever use case. But this is teaching by example. You have heard it too many times. And even if this is true, it's also truly boring. Because in 3 minutes, you have already forgotten 50% of what I just said. And therefore, I need to do the speech here about the right mindset. And I want to offer you a different story, still true. And the story goes as such. I will change expertise and logic and proof by empathy, by suspense and surprise. And then the story goes as that. 4 years ago, when I was asked and tasked to drive global change for offer to cash in Siemens Digital Industries, I was overwhelmed. How could I even do that? I've been in that place. But with the right friends and followers, we found out something so simple with the right amount of courage. And then we changed the way we see and do things altogether. And that's not teaching by example. This is learning by inquiry. So spoiler alert, yes, this is not the story of answers. You look for answers, I don't have them. But we have the right questions. And the best thing, you can join me on this journey too. And now that we have the right mindset to understand, it's not about finding the answers, but it's asking the right questions. I want to go from the head to the heart. Because for most of us in this room, the longest journey, the biggest chasm, the greatest canyon we will have to encompass are these 50 centimeters from the head to the heart. In order to show you how we can move this right mindset into the right heart set, let me introduce you to David Katz. He's the founder and CEO of a plastic bank. And what they do is, the last thing we should do to prevent marine pollution from plastic is to fish it out. We should understand end to end what is the cause of plastic in the ocean, and it's poverty. Because people who are poor cannot afford to think about recycling like we do here where we live. And therefore, they are picking out the plastic and really give above market value to recycle. It will be cleaned, washed, and then sold as so-called social plastic to companies like Aldi, like SC Johnson, Logitech, and what have you not. So, thanks a lot that I can share with you a 2-minute clip, and here we go.
What was it that I heard? Where did I hear it from? Who whispered it? And it wasn't the idea. It was the knowing that I only needed to become. And that life was not about being, but becoming. And that the journey truly is the destination.
When I had the idea, May the 11th, 2013, now of course I remember the day, because it was just so big. Not only did I have the idea, this knowing that if we turned plastic into money, that could be a part of change. Because the poor will never throw away money. What if we could turn it into cash?
We can see it in drug addicts who think of the next hour or next few hours, or the abject poor who have no food. And we can see it in workers who are beginning or emerging. They look at their paycheck 2 weeks. We look perhaps at other management that looks at the end of the year, or we look at the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gateses who look at decades in the future. And there is an association between wealth and time perspective. And those who can see into the future are much more likely to achieve wealth and abundance. And he was able to go from seeing today to seeing 15 years. And so I knew that in him we ended poverty. We absolutely ended poverty in the family.
And what do we learn here from this incredible journey of David? It's not about the being, but it's about the becoming. And not everyone can, but the one who can could actually come from anywhere. Do you think that David went to the University of Poverty Alleviation and learned about recycling? No, he didn't. And value. Value is really about how much further can you look into the future without worrying. Let's move on. Now we have set the stage, finally, some content. So, from head to the heart, we have done that. Now let's come to the hands. Let's learn a little bit about Pega in Siemens in my realm of responsibility. But before I do that, let me actually show my realities. And in order to visualize it, I'm going to use process mining because it's pretty slick to just show. Another disclaimer, you see already barred up there. So this is only a small amount of our data we have in Siemens, and therefore it's also no problem as an unrestricted usage. So what do we have? Well, our life starts with the sales order, which is a customer purchase order. It goes back to back in the distribution center. We will get an invoice, we will just try to bill our customers, and then later on we get the money. Pretty straightforward. But we know there are more activities there. So let's look at the activity here, and there. Still okay, we can understand it if you zoom it. But if you actually go a little bit higher into the zoom, you see, wow, now it's getting a little bit complex. There's another button there. What does that do? Oh, it's not only about the activities, but it's also about the interrelations of each other. That's my world every day. That's Siemens. That's complexity. But the thing is, systems are just complex. Now, at the component of humans, things will get complicated. Things will become complicated. So how can we deal with us being humans being kind of complicated with very complex system realities we are facing every day? Here it is. Here is the secret to digital transformation. Spoiler alert, if you don't know, digital transformation is 1% digital and 99% human. So let's not focus on making our systems better, more efficient, or highly automated. Let's focus on the human traits which were, are, and will always be better than any machine. And that is creativity, that's empathy, that's compassion. And the funny thing is, I actually really did not know what Jeff this morning or Johannes will talk about, but I really love it that this is really the theme which we have here today. And isn't it interesting that so different people from all around the world actually can come here and really share the same thing, that it is really about something else? And here's the nuance though. I believe in technology. And here comes the tricky part. I only believe that technology is the enabler for us to rediscover our humanity. Or in other words, I am not worried that AI will replace jobs. Really, I'm not. I'm worried that we humans become more and more like machines. That's what I'm worried about. So we need to refocus on the things which will always make us better than these things. And only technology is there to enable that. And if you really understand this kind of mindset, heartset, and you put it into action, then you also set up a project differently. So I had a double-digit project team when I started, and I retired all of them. I said, thank you, but I will do it differently. And this is what Johannes actually would say. Involve the front line. And I literally kidnapped 2 young ladies from the front line, and I said, go onto the journey with me. And let's make it fun. I'm also a certified Scrum Master. Let's see how many sprints we need to visit our 27 league countries. And it took us 1 year, and we didn't teach anything. We didn't provide any answers, but we listened and we learned. And together with them, we were able to really create a movement within Siemens in order to find the answers together. That is really the secret, to enable the collaboration based on different kinds of technologies. And if you do this on a global scale, then you achieve 24% higher automation, 11% less manual rework. And you have to understand, 10 million manual steps less. That's a lot of money. And this is what we have been achieving by creating the movement, by creating the transparency of our systems and what have you not. And now, what is the next step? How do you put in Pega into place that you can also deal not only with the system complexities, what we have shown here, but also with the human complicateness? Therefore, we started a project we called it Hermes, which is our Pega-based order management, case management. So yes, we had to transition from email world to digital communication, and we hope we are now digital collaboration. But the thing is, what you have seen in the video, of course, it truly is 10 times faster than our normal projects and at 1/10 of the cost. It is a factor 100. And it was even nearly unbelievable for us ourselves. We could not really understand that it is possible to really drive that change so quick on a global scale. And just to give you a small glimpse on how that looked like, it's really simple. It basically is a case management system where you have different work baskets, and you see, I'm God mode now, I see everything. You see all of these work baskets are for each country. And based on these different categories, you can do different flavors of automation. Because within the delivery, we have different automations. And if you want to look at your cases, of course, you can cater for the needs of your countries on how they want to see things. And of course, you have the visibility, the transparency of your process flow. You have all the necessary information. And then you also have the connections of all the things, or objects, the attachments you need. And then you can really move from case management to digital process automation. That's it. And yes, we are working in centralized order management centers in different countries. And in the headquarters, I can see any email from any customer around the world coming in. So, with the Pega platform and about the scalability, we have achieved that we can focus on what is most important: our creativity, our collaboration, our compassion. Because our slogan is not Siemens, innovation for business. It's not. It's ingenuity for life. And we can only be ingenious if all of the other questions can be answered, and then we can start asking the right questions. And then we will find the right answers together. So coming to a close, and this is a little nerdy reference. Who gets it can contact me later. Yeah? At the final frontier lies a new hope. Not so easy. Here I want to actually share with you what is really the secret sauce of the success on a global scale, which we have done with an extremely lean team. We were really literally only 3 people. If you miss a comma in a book, I promise you it's still a great book. That's a detail. If you miss a comma here, people will die. So I don't want to be the general at the knocking at the door and say, your son, you're a hero, died because of a detail. Who is going to differentiate for you when a comma is a detail or a showstopper? You go to Google Translate. 80% is usually fine. So here Google actually made a pretty good kind of thing besides the rooster, you know, and male genitalia. But you get it. 80% is okay. No one's going to be hurt. But think about it. I have a 9-year-old daughter. Do you think that I will let her in a self-driving car at 99%? Not even close. 5, 6, 7 digits after the comma, please, at least. Who is gonna make that call? Who is gonna make the call between the comma is a detail, is a showstopper, 80% is enough, 99 is not even close? And so, in closing, a tale of 2 cities is also a tale of 2 mindsets. And in every organization, you have people talking on the PowerPoint layer and people who actually do the work. And it's important that you talk about automation and digitalization and 100% clean orders and what have you not, whatever your language is internally. But trust me, you have people who do this every day, and they know if only one thing fails, that is the rocket ship. And if you want to talk about automated billing in an SAP environment, and you have a person or no person who understands what is RV60 SBAT, that ABAP, then your digital transformation will fail. But coming back to David, not everyone can be a hero, but a hero can come from everywhere. Like in my case, and let's use the word of Jeff, digital hero, came literally speaking from the regional company who really talk to customers for 10 plus years every day. They have not been in hell. They have been in the realities. That is the realities they are living in. And if you can't be a hero because you don't know this ABAP, don't worry. Don't worry. You can be a leader. Everyone can be a leader. Have the courage to be the first follower. Have the courage like me, not knowing things, but understanding what responsibilities and accountability I have on a global scale. And I identify my digital heroes in the most strangest places of them all for some, in the most obvious for me, because they have done that work for many years. And therefore, in closing, this story I tell to you, a true story, is not about me, but it is really about the two heroes I found. And together, we have found new heroes who really joined us. And let's give a hand to the real heroes who are still out there. Thank you.